everyone. This is the presentation today, Secrets to Using the ProFellow database. And I will be going in and out of my screen to show you the database, but come on in, get comfortable. We'll say hi in the chat, and I'll say sorry for the time discrepancies between the emails and then the actual webinar platform. We just set up the wrong time. Sometimes I'm doing webinars at 10 a.m. Pacific, sometimes at 11 a.m. Pacific, and I got a little bit confused, but come on in, say hi, and check out the screen here so you kind of get a lay of the land. I'm going to talk today about using ProFellow. We've got this massive free database. I'm also going to show you around other things on the site, other resources that you can use, because this is what people call a treasure chest of opportunities. So I want to make sure people know how to use it. So good to see everyone. Yes, people are saying hi in the chat. Hello, 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 Adriana, Anita, Jennifer, Sal Payan. Oh, I'm going to say your name wrong. Sal Fenya. Hello from Connecticut. Jalori, Paulette. Yes, come on in. Say hello. We got people from all different states, and I know we'll have people from all over the world. I'm just giving people a few minutes because of the time gap, but just come on in, and we'll see who shows up this hour. And then, like I said, I may just give it again in another hour because I hate to disappoint people. People think they were supposed to show up at 2 or got confused. I would hate to confuse them. So, all right. It's good to see everyone in the chat. And actually, I'm always curious if who here is brand new to ProFellow or who has been on ProFellow for years or something in between. So what I'm going to do is I've got a little poll going. So somewhere on your poll, on your screen, I don't know what it would look like, depending on what kind of computer or phone you're on. Let me know, how long have you used ProFellow? We've been around for 15 years. So I know that we have had people that have been with us since 2011 when we first started. But a lot of people are coming in new because you're currently looking for fellowships and graduate programs and other funding awards. So I just like to see the breakdown. So far, if you see the poll, it's just a one-click poll. How long have you used ProFellow? I'm just curious. Looks like most of you have been around here for less than 3 months, which is great. You're new to ProFellow. You could be at any stage in your career, I imagine. Some of you are in college or right out of college. We also have lots of mid-career people, experienced professionals, postdocs, faculty members, executives, and even retired people who are looking for fellowships. So come on in, and I just like to see the breakdown. So I love to see there's lots of newcomers here, and I realize I need to give this webinar more often because this is such a huge resource that sometimes it's difficult to really know how to use it. So I'm excited today especially to show you the newcomers, but maybe you've been here for 3 to 12 months and you haven't even really used the database yet. So I want to get you working on it. All right. So today, secrets to using the ProFellow database. I'm going to get started. My full name is Dr. Vicki Johnson. Feel free to call me Vicki. I'm the founder and director of ProFellow, ProFellow.com. And we're the leading U.S. resource for information on professional and academic fellowships, as well as fully funded graduate programs. And then more recently, we started adding business accelerators too. So we see ourselves as a place where you can find funded paid opportunities of all types for all types of activities, research, professional development, study and work abroad, everything that you can name. We put it all under this umbrella that we call fellowships because they are opportunities to do something exceptional. That is our motto. I'm also a speaker and an author. I just came out with my first book called Pitch Your Potential. I don't know if any of you here have read the book yet, but this book is about how to be a competitive applicant. And so this was a really important next step for me and ProFellow, because while our first goal was to help people find these opportunities, the next goal was to help you win them. So this is a little peek of the book. It's called Pitch Your Potential, the Formula for Winning Dream Jobs, Awards, and Elite Opportunities. Now, the cool thing about this book is that it's filled with ProFellow success stories. Most of the people I've ever worked with in the last 15 years are people that I've met through ProFellow, the platform. And I've developed my own curriculum and resources to help people figure out how to become competitive applicants. So whether you're early career, late career, mid-career, And if you're applying to fellowships or graduate school or really any type of competitive opportunity, I have a formula that I teach in this book that is based on many, many years of coaching and mentoring students, developing workshops, developing courses, and they turned out to be very, very effective. So finally, I had the opportunity to put this in a very accessible book so that anyone, anywhere in the world can learn the things that I teach in my workshops and courses. So check out the book if and when you have a chance. I'd love that. All right, and here is what the ProFellow website looks like, ProFellow.com. We have at our homepage, there's a big Get Started button. So just so you know, today we're going to look at the free database, the funding database. And in order to access the database, you have to create a free ProFellow account. And this is just to make it possible for you to do things like bookmark awards inside the database. That's why there's a sign-in. So if you don't have your own ProFellow account, you might be on our mailing list, but not have a ProFellow account. What you want to do is click the big Get Started button you see right in the middle of the screen. But you can also, there's also a sign up button in the top right-hand corner, and you'll go through a couple pages. We ask some information about who you are, what you're looking for. We don't ever sell your personal information to third parties, not even fellowship organizations. So we just use that to help, figure out what types of things people are looking for and the breakdown of our audience. So do that, get into the database. It takes just a few minutes. You need to activate your account through your email. That's how we confirm that you're a real person and not a bot. And then you can get into the database. So that's what I'm going to show you today. So also at the site, we have different career level pages, so you can learn a little more, see, is this for me? And we have designed it to be quite broad. It's for early career, mid-career, graduate school applicants and students, and also people at the PhD level. We also have an open calls page. These are our sponsoring partners. They are the reason that we have all of these free resources. These are all fellowship organizations and universities that want to meet you, connect with you. We give events like this one, free webinars. We've got workshops. Always, we try to have at least one event going or up there on the page. And then we do articles. We have articles with application tips, with fellow interviews. I do an advice column called Ask Dr. Johnson, and so forth. So we got lots of great stuff on here. Now, let's talk a little bit about what fellowships are. This is a little bit of a 101. We have a very, very broad definition of fellowships. We call them short-term funded opportunities to do something exceptional. So virtually everything that's in our database is short-term. So that is what makes it different than a permanent job, right? Most of these things are anywhere from a couple weeks to a couple months in length. We also aim to really only list things in our free database that are funded, meaning that they provide a stipend or a grant of some sort, and they don't have any tuition tied to it. Graduate programs, it's a little bit different, but all of our fellowships are funded or they come free of cost to the applicant. And then we say, do something exceptional, which is our motto, because all fellowships are competitive. They're merit-based and competitive. And so you have to go through a competitive application process. So they're for people that want to pursue these competitive opportunities. But the reason they're competitive is that they will give you the funding, resources, and experience to do something that you probably can't do in a typical job or just on your own. So you're going to get an exceptional experience when you do a fellowship. So that's kind of our broad definition. So you're going to find things in our database that don't have the word fellowship in the title, but we will list it if it's short-term funded and gives you an opportunity to do something exceptional. Now, why would you want to apply for fellowships? I know this from my own career. The development of ProFellow was completely based out of my own experience. I did 4 fellowships early in my career, starting right out of college, and I started to discover them. I was just searching for them on the internet through word of mouth, and I found that they were so extraordinary. My first fellowship was the New York City Urban Fellows Program, which was a 1-year professional fellowship in New York City government right out of undergrad. That was my first job. And then it led to fellowships that took me abroad, fellowships that took me to DC. And they even, helped me get clued into funding for graduate school and other opportunities like business accelerators. So they're really extraordinary. So there's many different things you could potentially do through a fellowship. So number one, you could possibly pursue a self-designed project or do research. So for 2 of my fellowships, I had to propose a project, and then the fellowship gave me the funding to execute that project. 2 of them were international, so I got to go abroad and have an international experience. So if you're looking to do a special project or do research, a fellowship might be the best way to fund it. Also, there's fellowships, and this is in the professional realm, that might help you gain high-level work experience in your industry. So there are fellowships that might place you in an organization for a period of time. Some of these are for people right out of college or over the summer when you're a student. But there is also mid-career and executive level fellowships as well that could place you in an organization. So again, it's for a short period of time, but typically you're doing something that is higher level maybe than what your peers might be doing. So if it's an early career fellowship, it might be a little more challenging than what you might find in an entry-level job. For mid-career and executive level professionals, often it's to work on something that's really leveraging your skills. Also, one of the best things about fellowships is that they can give you an opportunity to work or study abroad. This, to me, was the coolest thing that I discovered. I did study abroad in college, and I thought that would be the end of my international experience. But then I discovered my first international fellowship called the German Chancellor Fellowship just through an internet search. And I realized, man, this fellowship is going to pay me to go live in Germany for a year, work on a self-designed project, build my network, and even learn German and have an immersive experience. So I found that fellowships are one of the only ways to get the funding and resources and logistics that you need to go abroad if you want to do that, outside of a study abroad experience in college. Also, graduate school. I don't know how many of you here are looking for money to go to grad school. I got really into this world of graduate school funding after first paying for my Master of Science in Public Health just through student loans. I didn't know how to find funding. I was looking for scholarships, which is what many people do. But later in my career, I got my PhD fully funded. And that is when I started to do more research on graduate school funding opportunities, where they are, who they're for, what fields they're in, what type of degrees they cover. And so we have a lot of information on ProFellow too about funding graduate school and especially full funding. Also, fellowships will always broaden your professional network, especially in the era of AI, when the job market's constricting and we're feeling sort of like things are not going well in the economy. The most important asset that you can have is your professional network. And what I love about fellowships is that they give you a period of time where you're going to meet new people, you're going to make professional connections, not just among your mentors or the people that you're working with at a higher level in your fellowship, but also your peers. So they always broaden your professional network. And these are people that you will stay in touch with for many, many, many years. I still keep in touch with people from fellowships that I did 25 years ago. So there's a lot of benefits to applying for fellowships. Now, some people will say, oh, but the stipends are low, or it's this or that. It's short term and there's no job when I finish. Yes, there are some downsides or cons to doing a fellowship. But from my perspective, the upsides completely outweigh the downsides, as long as you have the flexibility in your life, your personal life, to undertake a fellowship. So I would say that the benefits from the network, the experience that you get are extraordinary. So don't look at a fellowship stipend and assume immediately that it's not worth it or it's not valuable. There's a lot more to it than just the funding. Now, when we talk about fellowships, I'm usually talking about either professional fellowships or academic fellowships. These are the two main buckets. Most people are familiar with academic fellowships. So these are things like postdoctoral fellowships, or you might hear of a visiting fellow at a university. So the word fellowship really did kind of come out of the academic world. So when I'm talking about academic fellowships, there are fellowships that are for undergraduate, master's, and doctoral students, as well as what they call postdoctoral fellowships. So that's right after your doctorate degree. You might spend 1, 2, 3 years doing a postdoc, as they say in short. And then there's also all sorts of research fellowships, for people at that academic level, have a doctorate, PhD, faculty members. they might be doing that. So if you're in the research academic realm, typically related to the university, those are academic fellowships. So we have hundreds of those listed, although they sort of are more in the master's and doctoral. There's even some undergraduate fellowships too. So I would check those out. Also, there's a whole world of professional fellowships. And this is really where the word ProFellow first came from. ProFellow was short for professional fellowship, because those are the types of fellowships that I did early in my career that were really unknown. People didn't hear about them unless someone tapped you for it. So these professional fellowships are these competitive awards that will either give you a full-time work placement for a period of time. So for me, for example, I did that 1-year stint in the New York City government, working in one of their offices. I also did a professional fellowship working in a think tank in Washington, D.C. for 6 months. So there's a whole bunch of awards like that. But they also can give you project funding. And sometimes you can stay right where you are and work on a specific project, on a fellowship. This makes me think one of the fellowships that we're advertising, like the E2 One Hotels Fellowship, is project funding for you to work on a sustainability advocacy project within a business realm. So there's usually, I try to bucket them into professional and academic, but I will say there are fellowships that straddle both worlds. It might include funding to do a master's degree and include a professional experience in the summertime, right? So there's some hybrid ones too. But for the most part, when you look inside the database, if you see professional, just think full-time work placement or project funding. And then the other ones are student postdoc fellowships related to funding your graduate studies or your research. Now, there's other types of things in our database. We also list things called the fully funded graduate programs. So several years ago, I wrote an article that went pretty viral called How to Fully Fund Your PhD. And before that time, very few people were using the term fully funded on any kind of wide scale. So I like to think that we really coined the public awareness of full funding. So for me, I never had heard of full funding in undergrad or even the master's level until someone, a professor, invited me to apply to a PhD program, and he told me that it was fully funded. So what full funding is typically it comes in the form of a graduate assistantship. That is a student job. It's like a research or teaching job where the university employs you as you are a full-time graduate student. And the cool thing about this job called the assistantship is that it will give you a tuition waiver as an employment benefit, which has a huge financial benefit to it, but also a stipend for the work that you're doing. And the work that you do is typically about 10 to 20 hours per week. And it's good work because it's related to the type of studies that you're doing. It gives you maybe some teaching experience or added research experience. And so you'll find that there's a lot of PhD programs that offer full funding for the 5 to 6 year PhD program, which is huge. You don't want to pay for a PhD out of pocket. It would be extremely expensive. So they do have these graduate assistantships, and they'll guarantee what they say, guaranteed full funding. You can also find these graduate assistantships at the master's level. It's less common, but if you go toward research-based master's degrees, a lot of them will offer the graduate assistantship. Now, master's programs don't typically use the term full funding because, few of them give all master's students full funding. But what we try to do in the database is show you master's programs that offer graduate assistantships at the master's level so that you can discern, hey, where could I get funding as I'm looking at master's programs? Now, another thing we started adding about a year ago is business accelerators. When I was working on ProFellow, I did a business accelerator called the NASDAQ Milestone Makers Program in San Francisco. It was a free mentorship program. I didn't pay for it. It didn't give a stipend. It didn't give funding, but the program itself was hugely valuable in that it was free and gave me access to coaches. So there's lots of different types of business accelerators. Generally, they are free mentorship programs for entrepreneurs. And in some cases, they will give you funding. The funding could be just no strings attached funding, like a grant. In some cases, you're giving up a bit of equity in your company to get the funding. So it's like your first seed investment or angel investment. So we started putting these in too, because in many ways, they're short-term funded opportunities to do something exceptional. So for those of you who want to be entrepreneurs or are entrepreneurs, check out the business accelerators in the database. Now I'm going to hop over to the database now and show you how to use this. All right. So let me see here. I have to unshare this. How do I do this here? I don't want to turn it off. Okay. I'm going to, wait, let me stop the slides, and then I'm going to turn this. Yes. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on the home page. So like I said, if you don't have a ProFellow account, you won't be able to get into the database. So what you want to do, I'm already logged in, as you can see here. So I'm logged in there. But here is the big Get Started button. You could go there. And if you're logged out, it'll say sign up, go there. Once you've fully signed up, you can go to this tab here, Funding Database. And this is what you'll see. Now, actually, I put 2,500 here, but we currently have 2,913 programs listed. So actually, we're close to hitting the 3,000 level. So this is going to be a record for us. Now, 2,913 doesn't mean 2,900 awards for that number of people. These are programs. Some of them offer 1 or 2 awards a year. Some of them offer hundreds. So this is representing millions and millions and millions of dollars in funding. I can't even calculate how much it is. It's probably in the billions. Just so you know, this is an extremely huge and comprehensive database. And I can also understand why it might be a little overwhelming. So that's why I wanted to show you all how to get the most out of the database. So when you come in right now, just by default, the fellowships are listed in the order of recently added. So someone on our team recently added these 2. I have not heard of these personally myself, but these were added in Susan Camille Emerging Writers Fellowships. And so what's cool about this is that every time you log into the database, you're going to see the newest stuff added. So all of these were probably added in the last week or 2. And just as a quick look at, you can see the fellowship here, and you can bookmark it with this little tab. So when you click it, when it turns pink, that means it's in your bookmarks. And if you want to find your bookmarks, you just go here to bookmarks. And these are things that I've bookmarked in the past. To get out of here, unbookmark. Okay. What you want to do to learn more about a fellowship, let's say you read this brief description. All of them have a very brief description, and we try to just quickly tell you who this is for and what it offers. So if you're like, this is interesting, I'm going to learn more about this Writers Fellowship, you'll see the same description here. There'll be a little more information, but every single fellowship and program in this database has a Learn More button. So when you click that, it's going to take you, it's doing a security verification. It's going to take you to the website. So the short descriptions in the database are not going to tell you everything that you need to know about the fellowships. It's really just for you to discover it, get a little taste of what it's about. But then you have the link right there to go directly to the website. And then you can go and explore fellowships. They might even have other fellowships that you didn't immediately see. So always, always, always go to the fellowship's website, learn more about the program, who it's for, eligibility. And if you have questions about the fellowship, you should ask them directly, right? Contact this program. All programs have emails and phone numbers and other things often in the footer too. So if you have a question about your eligibility or the application, go to them. We wouldn't be able to answer those, right? So let me go back to here. If you see this in the database, you can also bookmark it here. So I think this was bookmarked. So bookmark or bookmarked, it'll say. Then you'll know if you want to keep track of it. Also here, we don't list the exact deadline. We found over the years it's just really, really hard to keep deadlines accurate. So we just generally tell you this is open in July. Now it's July 29, so this deadline could have passed. So if you're only discovering it now, no worries. But a lot of deadlines either fall on the first of the month or the last day of the month. That's pretty common. So if you see July, check it out and see if it's actually could be July 31st. So you might still have time to apply. Now, if you're trying to think, how do I filter this? Now over here, this filter button is all the filters that you can use. And the very first filter we have at the top here is all these different types. So I did explain earlier what the different types are. So if you're looking for a professional fellowship, you can do that to filter. If you are looking for academic fellowships, you can look at the undergraduate, doctoral, or master's level. There's also summer fellowships. These are typically designed for students or people who've just graduated. So check out those if you're in school. Then we also have our doctoral programs and master's programs. These are almost all of these are fully funded programs or programs that offer assistantships. So these tend to have funding. And then we also have postdoctoral fellowships, which for those of you that have a PhD, it's not just people right out of PhD, but it can also be for experienced scholars. So basically anything requiring a doctorate will be listed under postdoctoral fellowships. And then down here too, you'll see we've got 43 business accelerators in here as well. We're adding more of those all the time. So, filter these. You can pick more than one. Maybe you're looking at professional, but also want to look at masters. You can click both. Down here, we have disciplines. Now, these disciplines, I think there's 12-ish. You'll notice that they're very, very broad, right? So science, social sciences, technology, education, they're super broad. Try to think about the disciplines that you're interested in. And these could be disciplines that you don't yet work in, but you want to work in those fields. Try to think about what disciplines does my particular interest fall under. I mean, I've had people ask me about things as niche as, ecotourism. Well, that's probably under business, right, as a subject, but there may not be an ecotourism fellowship, but I would look more broadly at business-related fellowships. Or let's say you work in public health, that would probably most likely fall under medicine, health sciences, so you can look there. But I do want to show you that if you really want to look into a sub-discipline first, like public health, use this keyword search here, and it'll pull up all sorts of things that have the words public health in the title or description or tags. And then you can also, let's say, I wanted to look at public health doctoral programs. If you do that, it'll narrow it down to the 32 public health doctoral programs that we have listed in the database. So that's the best way to use the keyword search, especially for any kind of subdiscipline. Some disciplines have lots of different terms. So for example, if you work in environmental policy, there also is a lot of other terms, right? Climate change, sustainability, energy policy, environmental sciences. Think of all the different versions of your discipline so you don't miss out on something that might just be under a slightly different name. All right, so just going back here, I just want to go quickly through the other filters. Location is based on where you will physically be when you're doing your fellowship. You'll notice most of these are in the United States, so that's why we have most of them are here. There's also fellowships in other parts of the world, and most of these are opportunities. We mainly lean toward listing opportunities for Americans or for U.S. students, so that can include U.S.-based international students. That is the focus of our site. So when you see these abroad, just note that these are probably opportunities open to Americans. Some of them are open to other non-US citizens, so you can check that out. But this is where you can be. And just note that let's say you're in the US and you're looking for a remote fellowship, you can just put North America because you don't want to physically go to Europe or Asia. So you can filter that way too. But also you can use words like remote in the keyword search to see if you can find fully remote opportunities like this one, fully remote. Another word I see a lot is virtual. So check that out. It might say remote or it might say virtual. All right, so that's another way you can use the keyword search. Also citizenship requirement. A lot of these are for the US, but you'll see there's some others open to other citizenships. So you might find a few. If you are a international student who is based in the United States at a US university, I would also put citizen as US. It's not super sophisticated, but a lot of them are open to non-US citizens who are studying at a US university. So I wouldn't narrow it down by citizenship in that case. Residency isn't really used that much, but we have it in here. A lot of these require US residency. So if you need to be in the US to do the fellowship, we'll have that there indicated. Work experience, this again, super broad. Less than 5 years means you're just right out of college or in college. 5 to 10 years might be for those of you who are kind of early career professionals, starting out, and then 10 plus years is mid-career and higher. These terms are loose. Not everybody has the same definition for mid-career. Not everybody has the same definition for experienced. We generally use these so that you can rule out things that are not relevant to you. So let's say you are mid-career, I'm age 40. I don't want to see all the ones for recent graduates, so I might just look at the ones that are for 10 plus years. Just keep in mind, though, a lot of fellowships do not have age requirements or age ranges or work experience requirements or ranges. So if you get too focused in on, hey, what can I do with 20 years of work experience, I would not search it that way, because there's going to be a lot of things open to people with varying levels of work experience. It's more related to the type of project that you want to do, the outcomes, and how that aligns with the funding body. All right, so uncheck that. Down here, funding type, we started doing that thing because sometimes for some of our partners, we have some awards in here, very rare, that don't have funding. But if they want to advertise with this, we let them be in the database. But you'll see virtually everything is fully funded. Deadline 2, this is a good one. If you're looking for things that have deadlines, in August, September, October, so that you have a little bit of time, you can just filter those 3 months. And then look through. Also check out the rolling deadlines. Some of these that either have a lot of different deadlines for different programs, or it's just rolling, it's just open. I would look at those. Let's say you want to look at the next 3 months, and then it'll filter out the 600 opportunities that could be open right now. All right, so that's how to use all the filters. And I'm going to clear these filters. I just want to mention too, this keyword search is pretty powerful. There's a couple other keywords that I think are good to know. One is part-time. A lot of people are working full-time or going to school full-time, and they want to find something that's a part-time fellowship. Some of these are related to part-time MBA, full-time, part-time MBA. But, for example, the Ideas Fellowship, this program is designed for part-time virtual participation, which means you could do it with a full-time role. You don't have to leave your job. So we put that in there because a lot of people want this to be done in addition to their job, right? So they're not able to leave a full-time job. So use a word like that. You can also try words like mid-career if you're looking for ones that are specifically geared toward mid-career professionals. I mean, look, we already have 144, and there actually may be more because, like I said, a lot of them aren't maybe explicitly for mid-career professionals, but could be open to you. So you can use the word mid-career if you're looking for that. Like I said, disciplines. Let's say you want to go to a specific country. Let's say I want to go to Germany. You could use the keyword search for specific locations, or, I want to be in Chicago. Let's see what's there. All right. We've got programs there, different Chicago programs. There's graduate programs and professional. So, use that search. Now, I will say, people say, well, can you do like multiple things like Chicago and I don't know, public health? It doesn't work as well. There's this one, which might have mentioned Chicago and public health. So you can try it, but try not to get too crazy with the keywords because you might filter out a ton of things that you can do. Now, let's see you have 100 results. Guys, seriously, these are super, super quick to read. And I know everyone here is used to scrolling their phones and can quickly read, right, little quips. If you have 100 results and you think that's too many to go through, trust me, it's not. Pour yourself a cup of coffee on a Saturday morning and just look through them. The reason I don't like people to narrow their search results too much is that you can rule out fellowships that are multidisciplinary or open to a broad range of ages or really are based on a project outcome. And so if you're narrowing it down too much with subdisciplines or age ranges or things like that, you might say, man, there's nothing here for me, when in fact, there's quite a few things that could be here hidden. So like I said, even if you have 100 results, just sit down and just go through and look at all the results one by one, pick one, visit this, go to the website, learn more. And if it's for you, bookmark it. And that's how you can make the most of it. I wanted to give some tips as well for applying, but what I'm going to do is hop over to the chat and just see what questions people might have about finding a specific type of fellowships. Okay. Sorry. Someone said the filter column is not clearly visible. Oh man, sorry. Guys, if you didn't see it, I think I needed to make my screen a little smaller. Sorry about that. Hopefully you didn't. If it got cut out, I guess I'm going to give this again in an hour since I got the time wrong. So sorry about that, guys. But yeah, the filters, let me just do one more time. Can you see that now? Let's see. Yeah, I think you can see it now. So we got the types, discipline, location, citizenship, residency, work experience. That's how you can use it here if you want to use the different ones. All right. Someone says they're looking for STEM graduate ops in business. And actually, Natoya, could you give me a little more detail? Like, do you mean STEM graduate programs or graduate fellowships? But also you said business. Do you mean you want STEM and business? Maybe put a little more. Okay. Someone says looking forward to funding with assistantship in grad school. Yes. Look at the program, the doctoral programs and the master's programs. What else are you guys looking for? Let me see. I don't see any questions in the chat just yet. Someone asked, what about students from Nigeria? Like I said, we're a U.S. organization, so most of the things that we list are for people who are from the U.S. or based in the United States. But if you're a Nigerian student who is at a U.S. university, there's tons of things in here that you can apply for. So check that out. Or if you're applying to U.S. universities, you might find doctoral and master's programs here you can apply for. All right. Yes, and Jalori asked, most of the links aren't direct to the fellowship only main website. Should we email the support? Yes, in some cases. Now, this is what happens. Sometimes we put in a link and they'll have it on a fellowship page, but then each year they change the fellowship page for the specific open. So if the database takes you to the main website, well, first and foremost, just look through their website to see if they have a fellowship page. It might just be that they move the information. It could also be that they don't have the fellowship anymore. And I will say, if you guys come across a database listing and you're like, wait, I can't find this, it looks closed, they haven't, if you could please report an update to this listing, there's a little button right here. You can send us an email. We try to keep these as up to date as possible. It's not perfect system because there's like 3,000 programs in here. But yeah, I would say, go like this one here. I think, it went to this main website and then, this went directly to it. But let's say you don't see anything, but you could go to about fellowships and awards and then learn more. So just, do a little digging around the website. But if a database listing needs an update, let us know. All right, let's see what else. Someone says, I'm an international student coming to UC San Diego for the MS degree this September. Would there be any relevant opportunities? Yes, if you're going to be a U.S. International student, first I would say look at master's, not master's programs, you're going to be in one. I would look at the master's fellowships. And a lot of these can be used for both, American or non-U.S. Students who are at U.S. universities. I would look through those. And you didn't mention what your discipline is. So we have 335 master's fellowships in here, many of which you might be eligible for. It just depends on what your discipline is. All right. Someone's saying, I'm looking to get into cybersecurity, but I only have experience in accounting. Working on my degree, would love a way into the industry. Okay, let's take a look here. I do think there's quite a number of, let me see. Let's use the word cybersecurity. Oops. All right. Look, Sierra, there are 30 results just for the word cybersecurity. So I would recommend looking through all 30 of these programs and seeing if there's something there that could work for you. All right. Olufemi, you have to go to ProFellow.com and then create a free account at the homepage, and then it will take you to funding database, which is right in the menu bar there. All right. And let's see what else there is. I'll do one or two more questions. Okay. Let me see. Any other question? Oh, Jennifer says, I'm entering a master's in art history program. Most fellowships are for PhDs. Any suggestions? Oh, yes. Okay. So for you, let's take out cybersecurity. You should be looking for master's fellowships, see more, master's fellowships. And then you could also filter by, it would probably be under like liberal arts and possibly creative arts. So I would do at least those two. Now, Jennifer, there's 180 results. So I would go through these carefully. Now, the reason I'm not saying, you could put art history here. Let's just see what comes up. Art history. All right. Again, remember, we're under master's fellowships. So there's actually 58 results, Jennifer, with the word art history in it. Some are for specific programs. This looks like it should just be in the not in the master's fellowships, but there's other ones here like these Crest History of Art institutional fellowships. Oh wait, I think I didn't do the filter here at the type. Master's fellowships. Wait, sorry, I think I messed up the filters a little bit. Hold on. Let's do so if you do master's fellowships and you do art history, the only issue is that this might be too narrow. There could be other things more broadly in liberal arts, but you'll see this says there's 58. Wait, I don't know if I'm having an issue. For some reason, sorry. I'm actually experiencing a bug. I think what you should do first is do master's fellowships. Okay, that's bringing up 335, and then do art history. Do the filter first, then the keyword. And then that'll show you. So there's 6 results right now. But I also think you should just broadly look at history. There could be other ones there that would work. But I would also say if you do master's fellowships, plus, like I said, the 2 broad filters, liberal arts and creative arts, you might find other things too that are more broad, but multidisciplinary, but you could do an art history program under that. All right, let me see. And then Snoopy asked, my spouse is from another country. Are there fellowships for people from Spanish-speaking countries who are now permanent residents? It's not so much that the fellowships would be specifically for you because you're a Spanish speaker. The fellowships would be more geared toward what your spouse does. Is there a specific field of work that they're in? They could definitely be open to that. I don't know. But there wouldn't really be fellowships just for the category of I'm from a Spanish speaking country. That's just a particular demographic. So Snoopy, just think about what do they do? Do they want to do a professional fellowship in a particular field? I would look through there, and then just look more closely at the eligibility to see if they have the right, citizenship or work experience eligibility. All right. Okay. I've given you some clues inside the database here. What I'm going to do is I want to go back to my slides because I wanted to give you some tips for getting into these competitive opportunities. People tell me all the time, it's really intimidating to apply to these fellowships. They look really competitive. And yes, they do have a competitive process, but there's a number of ways you can stand out in the field. So first, just to give a quick overview of what a fellowship application, and this is graduate school as well, what it requires. Number one, typically you have to have a resume or CV, which I assume most of you already have, but you might need to tailor it to the opportunity. Many of them will require a personal statement or short essays. And these questions might be related to things like, what's your background? What are your career goals? What are your motivations for this project? They're kind of personally related questions. They want to know more about what makes you tick and why you're applying. Often they will require 2 to 3 reference letters. So you want to think ahead about who could write you a recommendation letter. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them will require a project or research proposal. So if you're doing those kind of project funding or research funding, in some cases, and this is true for many international fellowships, you need to find contact with the host institution. So I had to do this for 2 of my fellowships, both of them international. I had to find a government agency or organization or university that would host me. So if I get the fellowship, they would give me a desk and a mentor, and kind of access to things that I would need for my project. So for those types of fellowships, I do recommend starting a few months in advance because it can take a while to nail down a host. So happy to talk about that. And then in some cases, or most cases, there's going to be either an individual, panel, or group interviews. All the fellowships that I've done had interviews as part of the process. So they get down to a finalist bunch, and then they do interviews. A lot more of them are now virtual interviews, which I think probably everyone is used to now. They don't do the flying you out anymore like they used to. But as you can see, this is quite a lot, right? So this is why I recommend using the ProFellow database first to bookmark things, get a good sense of when the deadlines are. Give yourself a good at least 2 months before a deadline to put together all of these pieces. Some applications are going to be longer and more complex than others. So look at that. How complex is the application? Who's going to be my recommendation letter writer? All of that. People who are applying to graduate school, you're usually starting that in the spring before these fall, winter deadlines, right? So several months in advance. So that's the right thing to do. So this is kind of a long-term process. It's a bit different than applying to jobs, but absolutely worthwhile. These are life-changing opportunities. So if you see something, even if you say, man, I don't have quite enough work experience for it yet, bookmark it. And then kind of keep it in the back of your mind as you're getting more work experience going into your career. You'll find it in the ProFellow database, and you'll be able to plan ahead for your application. Now, I've got a couple of secrets to fellowship winners. All right. Number one, go niche. What I've learned is that for these fellowships where you have to do a research project or some kind of professional project, I think it's really good to narrow your topic down. If you have a research question, don't try to be too broad or too aspirational. Sometimes we think it's going to sound better if it just sounds big and it's going to change the world. The problem is you start to make them question the feasibility. So these fellowships are, they're a short period of time, limited amount of funding. So actually, if you narrow down your project quite a bit, it's easier to make it, number one, more memorable. Two, it instills confidence that if you can be successful in that short time period and the resources. And actually, it's easier to create a feasible execution plan when it's really narrowed down. So I often talk about, how I came up with my New Zealand Fulbright project. I had a really broad idea. I talked to the host institution that I was targeting to narrow it down to something that would work for them and work for me. And it was very, very specific and narrow by the end of it, but it was good because I could make a really good execution plan. And that's really what the fellowship organizations want to see. They do not want to fund people that will not finish their projects or, bite off more than they can chew. Same thing too for those broader fellowships where you're just going to be placed at an organization. So if it's something that there's no project or research proposal, you're just going to be at an organization or agency for a year. I think it's good to have a really specific career goal. How are you going to leverage this fellowship to get to that career goal? But if your career goal is broad, I just want to advance my skills, or more, broadly, I want to enter the field of this or make a career change. They can't really understand why do you need this fellowship, right? So get specific. Tell them a specific job title at a specific type of organization, doing a specific type of work in the future, and then tie your application to the fellowship around why this fellowship is the goal, the key to you getting to that specific career goal. Even if you don't think you have specific career goals, you can get specific. And I do talk about how to do this in my book, Pitch Your Potential, how to make really highly specific projects and research proposals and career goals so that you stand out as memorable, likely to be successful, and have a really feasible plan. All right, number two is to add urgency. I found this is a good little tip to kind of, EQ yourself in. Explain why you need the program right now. Actually, very few applicants do this. I mean, they'll say generally, I want to do this program. It's great for my career track, but they don't really add much urgency to it. And part of the problem is if they get down to the finalist pool and they have a really amazing group of finalists, let's say they have 20 finalists, but only 10 spots, they're probably going to lean toward the applicants that have the most urgent reason to do the fellowship right now, because they can tell the other 10, reapply or come back later or try some other things because it's not urgent. So some ways to make your application urgent is, number one, maybe your work or your project or your research is going to address an urgent social challenge. So there's lots of things in the news right now. Try to tie in your projects and your work into what's happening right now in the news. So you can say, I'm going to use this to address this problem that's happening right now. And there's kind of adds a bit of urgency to it. Also, your project could be just a piece of something that's already in progress. So if you're, let's say you're doing a research fellowship to work on your PhD dissertation, you got to get that field work done in a very specific time because it's part of the longer project. So that is urgency, right? You can't put it off for a year. You can't reapply. You need it right now. Also, for those of you that are talking about, career tracks, I've seen candidates, especially for things like the Fulbright right out of college, you might talk about how the fellowship is going to give you important skills and fluencies necessary to be a stronger applicant for graduate school. So I think that's great. Or to be a stronger applicant for specific career roles and job positions. So talk about that. Like right after this fellowship, my plan is to do this, and this is going to give me the skills that's going to make that possible. Also think about some sort of time limited benefit that might be missed. So I've seen people tie into their fellowship applications, I want to go to this particular conference that's happening during the fellowship year in this place, and it's the only time it's happening, right? So if I don't get the fellowship this year, I basically miss this incredible opportunity in my field. These are harder to find, but if you do some research, you might find things that are only happening in that time period, in that place, that you can sort of tie into your application and show, I can't miss this opportunity, right? So these are just a couple different ways to add urgency. And I do talk about that more in depth in the book. Now, I usually give a couple of tips related to this, but actually I have this thing called the Match Me formula, the 7 elements of a winning application. And I don't have enough time to go through all 7 elements, but the 7 elements that I talk about in depth in my book are these. So number 1, how to be memorable. 2, how to align with the program's mission. 3, how to be timely with your application. 4, showing them how you'll capitalize on their unique benefits. 5, how to be highly specific, getting rid of jargon and platitudes in your writing. 6, how to show how the opportunity is mutually beneficial to you, but also beneficial to them. And then finally, E stands for elegant, which is the careful balance of self-confidence and humility, which is really about the tone of your application. So I'm going to encourage everyone to really use these 7 elements. Anybody can use these 7 elements, anybody. They don't require any special money, any special skills, anything that could be held back. It's really just about learning how to express your future potential. So if you're like, wait, I don't know enough about the Match Me formula, I really love you to think about getting my book. Actually, I had to put the link in today, guys, because there's somewhere on the screen. I noticed on Amazon, it's on sale for under $20, at least in the US. I don't know what it looks like abroad. But if you get this book for under $20 on Amazon, you're going to learn the Match Me formula in depth, and you'll see how effective it is, because I've got stories all throughout of not just how I use the formula, but also how people that I've worked with through ProFellow have used the formula. If anyone's read the book and is enjoying it, give me a shout out. I'd appreciate it. And I really want to encourage everyone to get the book. So there's the Amazon link. Like literally, if you just Google Pitch Your Potential, it should come up. I should come up in the book. Here's the book here. Pitch Your Potential. It's not a hard read. I made it so that it's like fun. It's full of stories and anecdotes and frameworks that are easy to follow. And I just want to mention that if you get the book, I've got bonuses for you, free bonuses. So you don't just get the book, you get these workshop replays. I did 3 of these live last fall: how to stand out in the competitive job market, how to create an exceptional fellowship application, and how to become a top graduate school candidate. And all of these are about using this Match Me formula. So jobs, fellowships, grad school. If you're applying to any of those things, you can get these bonus replays. All you have to do is order the book. It doesn't have to be from Amazon. It could be Barnes & Noble. It could be your local shop. It could be Porchlight, anywhere that you buy books. Order Pitch Your Potential, and all you have to do is send a screenshot to bookbonus@profellow.com, and you'll get these 3 replays, which people told me they really enjoyed. So, come get those so you get a lot of value for just purchasing the book. And I wrote this book because I really want everyone to not be intimidated by these awards. I want people to feel empowered to apply, because we still need diverse leaders to go into these programs. All right, so we're at the final 3 minutes of questions, and I may be staying on because I'm worried that people are going to be coming on at the hour for what the thing said was going to be the time. Yes, and Adriana said, "Can I send a pic of the book to the email?" Oh, you deleted. Okay, no, Adriana, I've known you for a long time, so don't worry. Email me. That's totally fine. Let me go back. Oh, guys, thank you. You liked the book. Thank you so much. I appreciate you giving me a shout out in the book. 10 out of 10 recommend. Woo, that was my goal. It was definitely a labor of love. It's a lot of work, and I'm just so happy that it's helping change lives, because people have told me that they've won things after reading this book. Let me do this. We got a couple of minutes. Let's see what other questions might people have. We can even go back to the database a little bit if necessary. I see Paul was asking about asteroid geophysics, planetary defense, and granular matter. Okay, so Paul, what I would do for you, I would say if you go into the database, there might not be a fellowship specific to asteroid geophysics, but there will be fellowships in physics. There will be fellowships in chemistry. There'll be fellowships in space. And you could also broadly look at STEM fellowships: science, technology, engineering, math. STEM is used a lot, so you could just even use STEM. So don't narrow it down too much. I would look more broadly at science and STEM fellowships, because whatever you're working on, whatever research could fall into one of those broader STEM graduate fellowships or postdocs or whatever you're searching. All right. Let's see. And let me see. Yeah, Thomas said my reminder email said beginner too. I know. I'm so sorry, guys. I had a little bit of a gaffe. So I think in 1 minute, I might start at the beginning, because I don't want to. Who's here new? Yeah, we had a little bit of a time gaffe because the webinar system, it was set for 2 p.m. Eastern, and the emails and the announcements were set to 10 a.m. Pacific. So sorry about that. But let me just see what happens next. But let's see here. I'm going to stay on, but thank you guys. I'm glad you had a good time. Please use the database. Make the most of it. A lot of people that have used ProFellow have won multiple fellowships, not just one. So if you're at the beginning of this, you've got a whole career of fellowships, graduate schools. I want to see more people starting businesses. So look at the business accelerators. Read the book so you can learn how to communicate your future potential, which is very, very compelling to selectors. And stay a part of the ProFellow community. If you win something, let me know. We also have an International Fellows Network so that you can network with other fellowship winners. All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care.